UFC London weigh-in recap show, full card predictions, and the betting breakdown. Alexander Volkov fights Tom Aspinall in the main event. It's a fantastic card. Can't wait to talk about each and every fight after the weigh-ins. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, turn those post notifications on, and share the video as well. And let's jump right into things here. First fight of the night, Muhammad Mokaev takes on Cody Durden. This is a sweet flyweight matchup here. Prospect battle, Mokaev being like a really exciting prospect to keep an eye on. As far as earlier in the week, I did pick the Mokaev side. We'll check out the fighters on the scales, and we'll see if anything changes here. Everybody on this card made weight. That's also a great note to have for this UFC London card. Let's run through it here. You see Durden on the scales. Just let me get the perfect angle up for you guys. Looks good. I have no complaints about how Durden looked. I didn't expect any issues with either one of these guys, really. 126, Durden. Mokaev, 125. He looks really lean, good, ready to go. As far as how they look at the weigh-ins, when you have two guys that are expected to make weight, I don't feel much changes. It's really in this matchup going to be what can Mokaev do against Durden. A lot of people are on the hype train of Mokaev, me included. I do think the odds are a little bit wide. Cody Durden is not a bad fighter. He comes from a wrestling base, but he also has experience in striking as a professional. Kickboxing, boxing. Tricky guy to take down for sure. Mokaev's grappling is definitely something to watch. I like his stand-up game as well. I feel like he's a pretty damn slick striker. I feel like the submission game is going to be potentially a problem for Cody Durden. No pick change for me here. I think we're riding the same way. Mokaev seems to have that potential. I mean, he's 21. He is unbeaten. He was 23-0 as an amateur, 5-0 as a pro. The stars are aligning for this kid. I really feel like the prospect is real. Cody Durden, a very difficult debut fight. I think that shows the confidence people have in Mokaev because Cody Durden 12-3-1, gave Chris Gutierrez hell, had a draw, disappointing loss to Jimmy Flick, unfortunately retired, and then his most recent fight put on a win against Aori Quilong, I believe. Yeah, that was the last fight. Unanimous decision. I think Mokaev gets it done. I'm going submission victory for him. I think in the first two rounds. Really excited to see it. As far as betting, as I said, the line is wide. Minus 350 towards Mokaev, plus 350 towards Durden. Mokaev is not the money line play, and he's a newer face to the fight game, so I'd understand hesitancy. If Mokaev is as real as they say, you got inside distance submission plus 225, inside distance minus 105. I don't mind that sub prop. I'm kind of feeling like we might be going short time here, though. If you went under 2.5, minus 130, I think that's a potential play. I see the Mokaev side getting the finish. A lot of people on the opposite side are seeing Durden by decision, so interesting note. I'm very excited to see what happens. I am a Mokaev believer. We'll find that on Fight Night. I'm going Mokaev win by submission, and the money line is just a bit wide if you're looking to throw down. Next fight of the night. Elise Reed versus Cory McKenna. These ladies going after it here. Earlier in the week, Cory McKenna side, we'll check them out on the scales and see if anything changes here. There is Elise Reed, makes weight, looking good. Cory McKenna looks good as well. I don't really expect things to change with these matchups where both fighters seem to have no issues on the scales. Elise Reed is not a bad fighter. She has a pretty decent kickboxing style. On the floor is, I think, where she'll run into problems. Cory McKenna is pretty decent on the ground. If she gets your back, I think that is her best potential for a finish. If she gets the back of Elise Reed, I'm kind of feeling that Cory McKenna submission side here, man. On the feet, she's not bad. She'll work a peppering double jab. Lots of movement. I think the stand-up is competitive. Slight reach edge towards Elise Reed, but it's not anything substantial. 58-inch reach to 61.5. Both these girls about the same height. I feel like McKenna has a more well-rounded game. Reed's UFC debut was a nightmare. She fought Sijara Eubanks on short notice, and she got destroyed in that fight on the floor. I don't think this fight will be at that level of domination, but I do think McKenna finds a sub, second or third round here. As far as the odds, McKenna Minus 240 favorite. I'd like to see her as the favorite, but I do think the line could be a little bit closer. Elise Reed plus 231. Best value as the dog. As far as the props in this one, McKenna win by sub is plus 715. I'll be honest, I think that one is worth a little stab. It's one of the, Hail Mary props of the week, but I don't think it's really that much of a Hail Mary. I think McKenna can win by submission here. I'm going to pick her by sub, and I'm definitely loving that plus 715 prop. I think that's actually really undervalued for how wide the line is money line. McKenna for the win over Elise Reed. Let's keep running. Next fight. Jack Tank Shore takes on Timur Valiev. Valiev, since the unfortunate loss to Trevin Jones, which was overturned to a no contest, he's turned up 2 straight wins, beat Barcelos in the last fight. Earlier in the week, I was on the Timur Valiev side. Not an easy matchup facing off with Jack Shore. The scales in this fight, both guys are looking fantastic, ripped, ready to go. Jack Shore is going to have a slight size advantage over Timur Valiev. I do think Valiev is the more explosive fighter. Kickboxing-wise, a little more range towards Shore. I think power towards Valiev. Wrestling, I see it being competitive. Jack Shore is known for his wrestling, but I think Timur Valiev can match him very much so in the wrestling. And I think he's the stronger of the two. I feel like Timur Valiev gets the W in this one still, even after the weigh-ins. I feel like his style matches up well. Jack Shore's a pretty decent striker, but I do expect him to attempt takedowns. I think we'll see a little more speed in the footwork towards the Valiev side. Very competitive bout. I'm going to go Timur Valiev, win by decision here. As far as the line for this fight, it's very close. It was actually a lot wider earlier on in the week. Minus 114, Valiev best value, plus 111 for Jack Shore. If I'm looking at playing a prop in this one, personally, I don't love any of them. Over 2.5 isn't bad though, because I do think we're going long. Minus 245, fight goes distance, minus 225, but it's not great money. Valiev by decision plus 160 is an okay prop. Personally, I would lean you towards maybe money lining this fight or even staying away from it because it is a super competitive matchup. This is one of those near 50-50 fights, but I do like the Timur Valiev side here. I do think he gets it done, and he takes the O from Jack Shore here. And Timur Valiev keeps moving up the rankings, man. He's pretty well-versed guy, tons of experience in the fight game, came to the UFC with a good amount of hype. I'm excited for Timur's potential, and I still think Jack Shore is a very bright future. I just think Valiev right now, difficult matchup for the 27-year-old. Timur Valiev for the W here. Next fight, Nikita Krylov, Paul Craig. I love this matchup. This is not a prelim fight to me. This is a main card slot fight. This is a fantastic light heavyweight matchup between top 15 guys in the world. Paul Craig has beaten Jamal Hill, beaten Magomed Ankalaev. These wins he has hold up well. Shogun Rua as well. Nikita Krylov, he really only loses to the upper echelon. Last fight was the Ankalaev loss. Prior to that, he beat, I believe, Johnny Walker decision. He loses to Glover, had beat OSP, lost to Blachowicz. He's tossed them back and forth in the past few, and he takes on Paul Craig, who is a proven finisher. Krylov, his biggest if is going to be that submission game. Now, earlier in the week, I was on the Paul Craig side. We'll check them out on the scales here. There is Paul Craig looking good and ready to go. And there is the ripped Nikita Krylov. He looks shredded out for this fight. Both guys in very good shape. I think that Krylov is a pretty well-rounded guy. This is not an easy matchup for Paul Craig. I think Craig needs this fight on the floor. Standing up, I'm going to give a slight lean towards Krylov. Finishing ability goes towards Craig. I think this is more of a near pick'ems fight, though the line has it a little bit wide towards Krylov. He's a minus 177 favorite, best value. You can find Craig upwards of plus 169, nearing plus 170. I like Paul Craig a lot here. I think that is a pretty solid underdog play. Looking towards what you could touch on this one, Craig wins by submission, plus 450 best value. So if you find it in that plus 300 range, I do think it's worth a stab. I am predicting he gets it done by sub. Looking at the over-unders, interesting, minus 125 over 1.5. How likely is it that Craig gets a first-round sub? His performance against Jamal Hill is now aging so well, and it shows that Paul Craig off his back is a threat to anybody. Krylov has pretty good top pressure, decent wrestling, but I'll be honest with you, man. I think if he sits in Craig's guard, even his half guard, he's risking getting put in a bad position because Paul Craig is dangerous everywhere on the ground. I'm going to go Paul Craig by sub here. Not an easy fight, but I think he's a very live underdog, and I'm liking Paul Craig to beat Krylov and keep running up the rankings here. Next fight, Shamil Abdurakhimov takes on Sergei Pavlovich. Earlier in the week, the pick is Pavlovich. Pavlovich outside the UFC was jacked as hell, so I'm excited to see him on the scale here, and we'll see how he looks. There is Pavlovich. He looks pretty thick right now, and he does look ready to take on a pretty game Shamil Abdurakhimov, a guy that's not an easy matchup for really anybody in the heavyweight division. Granted, there's proven ways to beat him, especially at 40 years old. Prime Abdurakhimov, that's a really hard matchup for Pavlovich, who's a lesser experienced UFC guy. His debut, Pavlovich fought against Overeem, lost that fight. 2 straight wins, but hasn't been in the cage for about almost 2.5 years. And he beat Maurice Green, and before that, Marcelo Gome. Both of those wins are against guys who are no longer in the UFC. So this is a big step up in competition for him. He's a huge favorite coming in, and I think it's because what you see from this kid is really dangerous stand-up and a competent ground game. Minus 283 best value Pavlovich. Abdurakhimov plus 255. I like the Pavlovich side a lot here. His straight punches are devastating. I expect him to find the chin and get the knockout. I think we're going under 1.5. That's minus 145. I like the KO prop for Pavlovich, but it's ugly. It's minus 205 inside distance, So I guess the KO prop is actually almost just as ugly, minus 190. It's a hard position as far as betting the props here. You're not getting a ton of value. I would lean you towards under 1.5, minus 145. I think Pavlovich is probably going to win in the first round and a half by knockout. Abdurakhimov, at this point, even in his prime, he's more of a plodding heavyweight. I see a speed and significant power edge for Pavlovich. Also just physicality. There is an 8-inch reach advantage, and these guys are the same height. Pavlovich is a bit of a freak. I think he gets the win here. I'm going knockout. I'm thinking first round, and I'm liking that under 1.5 for him. And I think he's taking out Shamil Abdurakhimov in this fight. Let's keep running up. Featured prelim of the night, Mike Grundy versus Makwan Amirkhani. Earlier in the week, I was on the Mike Grundy side pretty confidently. Let's look towards the scale. There is Makwan Amirkhani looking lean, ready to rock, and there's Mike Grundy looking intense here. I'm a big believer in Mike Grundy's game, especially in this stylistic matchup. Pressure-heavy guy. Not a questionable gas tank for Mike Grundy in a good wrestling base. Freestyle versus Greco-Roman. Freestyle being Grundy, Greco-Roman being Amirkhani. Amirkhani more of that free-flowing kickboxing style. You get more of that boxing, tight pressure, heavy base towards the Mike Grundy side. I think he's a great matchup to take on Makwan Amirkhani. I see Makwan potentially gassing late. It's kind of been a problem throughout his career as Makwan Amirkhani does gas. I don't see him having a ton of success. Granted, I could see him looking okay in that first round and a half, but I think Mike Grundy's constant pressure will wilt the side of Makwan Amirkhani. Maybe TKO for Grundy, also liking him win by decision. As far as the odds for this one, pretty good value, minus 174, best value Grundy, Makwan Amirkhani plus 164. I like the Grundy side a lot. I don't think he's a bad money line play if you're looking for something to just throw straight at. Do you want to touch this? I like Grundy by TKO potentially. Looking at the line for that, it's upwards of plus 850. That's more of a sprinkle Hail Mary. I definitely could see him winning a decision. I am leaning that side as far as the pick. But there's a lot of value on that bet for TKO. Amirkhani, a guy who gasses a little bit later. Maybe you go. Grundy wins in round 3. Let's see what the value is. Grundy wins in round 3, plus 1,600. I don't know if you want to Hail Mary something. I don't think that's a terrible one. There's definitely a chance Grundy could get a sub, especially against a tired Amirkhani, plus 305. So maybe you go inside distance. If you're trying to Hail Mary it, you go towards round 3 or knockout. But I think money line, you have a fantastic bet on Mike Grundy, and I do think he beats Makwan Amirkhani in our featured prelim. Let's jump to the main. If you guys have not yet, make sure to smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. It's Jai Herbert versus Ilia Topuria. Fantastic fight to start off this main card. I am jumping up and down with excitement for this matchup because I'm a big believer in Ilia Topuria. Earlier in the week, pick is Topuria. I'll be honest, nothing on the scales is going to change my mind here. There is Topuria. He looks jacked, ready to go. He is up a weight class. This is 155. Previously was fighting at 145. There's Jai Herbert. He's a long kickboxer, and that could potentially be a problem. He's got a pretty quick striking style, uses his range well. But man, Ilia Topuria on the ground is masterful. On the feet, he's very dangerous too. But I think in this fight, this is a matchup where Topuria really shows those grappling skills in the UFC. I think he'll work for takedowns. I'm definitely leaning Topuria by sub. Wouldn't be impossible to see him winning a decision either, but I'm big on Topuria. Now, as far as the betting side here, Ilia Topuria is such a wide favorite. Minus 440. Jai Herbert, plus 500. I like Ilia Topuria, especially, I guess, propping it up. Unfortunately, I feel like that's your best bet here. Now, it's interesting, right? Because you look, Ilia Topuria's UFC debut, he beat Youssef Zalal. It was a unanimous decision. Decently long kickboxer. Granted, that's a debut fight. Plus 500 Topuria by decision could be like a stretch prop that you could reach for here, but I am leaning Topuria by sub pretty confidently. It's upwards of plus 168 at best value. I'm feeling the Topuria side. I definitely think you can get the submission here. Maybe if you're looking just betting side, value-wise, plus 500 Topuria decision. There's really no money to be made as far as Ilia Topuria on the money line, unfortunately. Over-unders are kind of ugly as well. If you feel like it might go a bit long, you can get over 1.5 plus 122. But man, as soon as this fight hits the floor, I'm very nervous for Jai Herbert. I think Topuria is going to get the win. I'm going win by submission. And I expect his stock to continue to rise. Guys, keep your eye on Ilia Topuria going forward because he is a problem. And that Paddy Pimblett incident, I think it just got him more fans. That was fantastic for him. And people say, oh, was it staged? I don't believe it was, but damn, it was a great moment to capitalize on because Pimblett's got a ton of momentum. Ilia Topuria for the win. Molly McCann versus Luana Carolina. Fun flyweight ladies fight. McCann's going to get a huge pop from the crowd. Trains over in Liverpool with Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. Luana Carolina, though, very difficult stylistic matchup, I believe. Earlier in the week, was on Luana Carolina. The scales are not going to be a huge factor. There's Carolina. There is Molly McCann. McCann definitely a lot thicker of a girl. You see the height and range advantage favor Luana. 5'6", 5'4", 69-inch reach, 62. That reach advantage, I think, is going to come into play, especially because Carolina is a Muay Thai-based fighter. She also is long, right? And I think she's got a speed advantage here. Striking, she's a little bit awkward even in her movements. I think that could give Molly McCann problems. McCann does have a bit of pop in the hands, a lot of pressure. She's going to look for takedowns here. Carolina is a girl that can be taken down, but she's a hard girl to control on the floor. She's real scrambly on the ground. I think she finds ways back up if she does get taken down. I think this is a scrappy, competitive fight. This right here is a bit of a dangerous bet because I do think it's a toss-up, but I'm liking the Carolina side by a decision, and I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of thinking we might be seeing a split decision for Luana Carolina. Molly McCann, minus 134, Carolina, plus 123. If I'm looking at the lines here, fight goes distance is minus 300. I do think it does, but there's really no value in that one. Let's see if there's anything we really can touch here. I don't love playing any of the props here. Carolina decision plus 210, McCann plus 130. I like the underdog, Luana Carolina, but she's not a great value underdog, and she is in a difficult fight versus Molly McCann. It's a competitive matchup. I think it's very close. It's like one of those 55 to 45 type matchups for the pick as far as I go. I'm going to go Carolina for the win. I think she beats Molly McCann, but it's not an easy matchup, not a sure thing, but I do think she gets it done here. What the hell is that? What is this? We got sound playing? Shout out to MMA Junkie for blasting us with an ad mid recording here. What the fuck is this, my guy? What the fuck is this? That was live action, guys. You know it's live action, so we just got to keep it running. But overall, I do think the Molly McCann side gets, the Luana Carolina side beats Molly McCann there. Let's keep running up the card. Next fight of the night. Gunnar Nelson versus Takashi Sato. I'm excited to see these two throw down. Nelson has not fought in a very long time. The Gilbert Burns fight was nearly 2.5 years ago now. Takashi Sato's been out over a year too. Baeza beat him in the last one. He takes this fight on short notice. I feel as though the power of Sato is a problem. Earlier in the week, I was on the Sato side, and I'm telling you guys, these lines are a little bit wrong here. Let me slide down towards this fight. There is Takashi Sato, who joked around that he felt like he was going to die for the weigh-ins, but he later said that was a joke on Twitter. Sato looks good, ready to go. I like the hair. Damn, Gunnar Nelson has a new look to him, man. He looks a bit older. He's aged since the last. I like the mustache, though. It looks like his name would be Bart rather than Gunnar Nelson. But hey, overall, I'm excited to see Gunnar back. But I'll be honest, short notice, Takashi Sato is live, guys. And I think the line is way too wide. Looking at it, Sato plus 431. Wow, that's super wide. Gunnar Nelson minus 422. I don't think it should be that wide. Takashi Sato has a judo base. Yes, he's been submitted by lesser guys. Granted, Gunnar Nelson's been out for a long time. I don't like the layoff. I think Sato could be a problem. Strong guy in the clinch. I think power in the hands. I think Takashi Sato, also from the southpaw stance, could catch Gunnar Nelson, especially the high chin of Gunnar Nelson. I'm going Takashi Sato win by knockout here, guys. I think he's going to get it done. And it could be a bit of a stretch. It's a risky bet, certainly. Sato plus 725 by the KO. A lot of people are feeling the Nelson side. If you are, the submission prop isn't terrible. Minus 118 best value. But as far as money line, you're making no money on Gunnar Nelson. I think your best bet would be dog or pass style play on this one. And I do think we see a finish towards the Sato side. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a safe play. Under 2.5, minus 155, I think is an extremely high likely. Sato's probably looking for the knockout. Nelson's probably looking for the sub. I like win by submission by Nelson's side or knockout side for Sato. I'm picking Sato, but intelligent betting side of me says minus 155, under 2.5 would be the touch, guys. So if you're looking to play something and you're not sure of your side, especially as wide as the odds are, give yourself the under 2.5. Sato for the win, upset over the long layoff returning Gunnar Nelson here. The next fight, Paddy the Baddy Pimblett is back. He takes on Rodrigo Kazula Vargas. Very excited to see these two go after it here, man. Paddy Pimblett's hype is through the roof. How will he fare against a pretty decent lightweight? I think Vargas doesn't have the reputation he deserves. Granted, older guy in the division, 36. Granted, you can make a run at any age at this point. We see old champions, 42-year-old Glover Teixeira holding the belt light heavy. Granted, this is lightweight. Paddy Pimblett stand-up, people get concerned. Earlier in the week, I'm on Paddy Pimblett. I know the chin is a bit high, but I do think he's a legit prospect. There is Vargas on the scales, 155. There is Paddy Pimblett looking lean and mean, especially when you see him after his fights. I mean, the kid bulks. He's got the huge cheeks. 55 is a great weight class for him. Good that he's not starving himself down to 45. I think Paddy Pimblett should get this fight to the floor and look to finish, either submission or TKO. On the ground, I think he's a level above Vargas, but Vargas is a tough southpaw. One thing with Vargas, too, is, I mean, he eats good punches, man. I feel like, yes, this should be the Paddy Pimblett showcase. He's a star in the making, certainly, but you look at Vargas's overall game, he's got a stiff jab, good hooks, he likes to bang in close range, he controls the center pretty well, and I mean, if you look for subs, he definitely could lock something up. I really like his guillotine choke. I mean, I think he's a durable guy that constantly presses. Paddy Pimblett cannot get careless on the feet here. Having the chin up high, rushing, going crazy, you could get caught by something. Granted, I don't think Vargas has that one-touch power. I think striking, we have an interesting fight, but I think Pimblett knows where to shine here. Take the fight to the floor, use your grappling game, and let's showcase the ground skills to the fans all around the world. That's what Paddy will do. Paddy Pimblett win by submission. As far as the lines, though, Pimblett, minus 481, best value. Oh, it's terrible money line. Plus 479 for Vargas. Let's look here. What am I feeling? I think we end inside distance. Under 2.5, minus 225. Under 1.5, minus 120, best value. I don't mind under 1.5 here. I think Pimblett's getting a sub in the first or second round. Inside distance for Pimblett, minus 170. If you go towards the sub prop, it's plus 190. Reason being, you're seeing knockout prop plus 210. I could see two methods: ground and pound TKO or submission on the floor. I think the fight's going to be grappling for Pimblett. I think that's where he shines in this spot. I like Pimblett inside distance the most at minus 170. I think value side of things, you could attack the sub plus 190, but you'll be kicking yourself if he does get the TKO, and that's plus 210. Under 1.5 might be a stretch, might be possible. I think Pimblett, fast starting guy, as is Vargas. I think he gets a sub in the first 7 minutes. I like under 1.5, minus 120. I like Paddy Pimblett straight though, but the money line is atrocious. Maybe a parlay addition, but it is super wide, especially now later on in the week. But let's keep running up the card. The pick here, Paddy Pimblett. I think that's no surprise to anybody. Co-main event. Arnold Allen versus Dan Hooker. This is a fight I've sat on a lot. I've done extensive extra research for this one. I really had to base it off too. I wanted to see the scales for Hooker. He's dropping down to 45, a weight class where he's never looked like a top contender. At 55, he's done well. And you know what? I really dug deep with the record, right? When you look at his 5 wins, I thought Paul Felder beat him, guys. I thought he lost that fight. He got the win by split. Dustin Poirier gave him hell, lost the decision. That was his best performance. Michael Chandler stops him in a round. He beats Nasrat Haqparast. Back of the line guy. Bobby Green beat him up too. Okay, decent win. Islam Makhachev destroyed him. Arnold Allen, even though he's not getting finishes, Sodiq Yusuff, Nick Lentz, tough grappler, Gilbert Melendez, legend, Jordan Rinaldi, okay. And then Mads Brunel submission, who's now a top guy in Bellator. That's a pretty good win to have. I'll be honest, guys. Earlier in the week, I was leaning the Hooker side, but as I've said, I'm very torn on this one. Let's check out the scales. Man, ripped up Dan Hooker with the shades on. And there's Arnold Allen looking ready to rock. Now, height does favor Hooker. Range does favor Hooker. Kickboxing, it favors Hooker, but note this, the speed is not the same as lightweight. At featherweight, I think Allen's going to be the quicker guy on his feet. I think his stand-up game could actually surprise a lot of people. He did drop Yusuff in their fight, and that's also because he has such a difficult grappling game. Southpaw, too, and I mean, granted, Dan Hooker's a stance switch guy, which I really love about his style. His kickboxing's awesome. He's a rangy kickboxer, that city kickboxing style, great front kicks, excellent movement, solid straight shots. I mean, Dan Hooker is a guy I love to watch fight. I'm a big Dan Hooker fan. But Arnold Allen stylistically matches up well. Go look back at Dan Hooker versus Jordan Knight. I know this is years ago. This is 6 years ago now, that fight. He did lose to Jordan Knight. That's before jumping up a weight class and deciding, listen, I want to try my guns at 55. I think Arnold Allen's a bad matchup for him, guys. I have to pick Arnold Allen. I have to shift towards his side. I was talking about it last night on the money line, and I'm sticking with it here. I cannot pick Dan Hooker at 45. At 55, I love the Dan Hooker side. But at 45, man, I think this is a difficult stylistic matchup. I'm worried about the takedowns. I'm even worried about the speed edge on the striking, man. I think Arnold Allen for the win. I think he beats Dan Hooker, guys. I think he's probably going to do it by a decision, but maybe a sub. Minus 110 for Arnold Allen, plus 102 Dan Hooker. As a fan, we all want Hooker. But let's be realistic, man. This is not an easy fight. Do you want to touch any of the props? Fight goes distance, minus 150, over 2.5, minus 185. Let me look towards Allen wins by decision. It's plus 185. I also think Allen by sub. Allen by sub is plus 925. It's more like, if you're looking to stab a Hail Mary, plus 925 would be the way you go here. I like Arnold Allen for the win. I think he does get it done. Close money here. He's a decent money line play. Of course, not a guarantee, but my confidence is jumping. I was originally more at the 50-50 mark, but like I'm kind of feeling like 70% to 30 on the Arnold Allen side. So give me Arnold Allen for the win. I think he beats Dan Hooker. I don't like Dan Hooker at 145. Let's see if he proves me wrong on fight night. Sometimes when you swap the picks late, it comes back to kick you in the ass. Could be a factor here, but I think it might save the day in this one. Arnold Allen for the win over Dan Hooker. And let's jump to the main event of the evening, Alexander Volkov versus Tom Aspinall. Make sure you guys smash that like button, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Volkov, Aspinall, this is a fantastic heavyweight fight, guys. I am absolutely stoked to see, is Aspinall the real deal? The questions will be answered now with this fight. Tom Aspinall, to me, has a clear-cut speed advantage here, and that's a big factor. Earlier on in the week, I was on the Tom Aspinall side. Let's check them out on the scales and see what's popping here. Marcin Tybura, backup fighter, came in on weight. And then let's look towards our guys here. Tom Aspinall, 252. Looks good, ready to rock. Look at this. Volkov, 253. He's not fighting as heavy as he has in the past. You look at his last weigh-in, it was 263. That was the Topuria fight. I think that's a smart move. He knows his opponent's going to be quick here, and when I see Volkov weighing above 260, there's a significant impairment in the footwork. The speed drops, even his striking speed, way down. More of a back foot style striker. Aspinall, your pressure-heavy guy. Aspinall's pretty slick with the stand-up, man. He's got a good boxing style, also mixes in good grappling. I think people haven't even seen what he's capable of yet on the ground, but the explosiveness and speed advantage is a serious concern. Now, Volkov is not an easy guy to put away. It's not like he's a guy that gets finished. You look at recent losses. Lost to Curtis Blades by a decision. Lost to Cyril Gane by a decision. If Aspinall wins by knockout here, he's looking like England's top heavyweight. Maybe ever. I'm telling you guys, I'm very stoked to see what Tom Aspinall can do. I'm going to pick him by knockout, man. I think Volkov will struggle with the pressure style, and he's out. The speed is a clear-cut advantage here. I think he's outclassed in the speed department. Volkov is a good technical point fighter, and if it goes long, Volkov might find Aspinall gassed out. There's a lot of question marks around the Aspinall gas tank, but I'm not ready to write him off. I think he can go the full 5. I'm going Aspinall win by knockout. I'm leaning second or third round here as well, and I'm loving this fight. Now, as far as the bet, very close money. -116 Aspinall, +110 for Volkov. Let's see what we could do here. Now, under 3.5 rounds is about -115. I don't think that would be a bad play. I definitely see this fight ending probably within the first 4 rounds. I feel like the longer it goes, it does slightly lean towards the Volkov side, but maybe Aspinall shocks us all and goes out there and wins a decision over Volkov, which is definitely possible. 100%. Aspinall by decision +450, so that's an unlikely mark. Aspinall by KO +195, but he does have a decent sub game +150. This is a very tricky fight. Volkov could be live here. I definitely feel like Aspinall should win, but Alexander Volkov is a proven top-line heavyweight, and this is a stern jump in competition, and there's a lot of question marks around the Aspinall side still. I love what I'm seeing on paper. I love what I'm seeing in the film. We're going to find out when the cage door closes what happens between these two. I am picking Tom Aspinall. I think, I don't know, maybe live betting would be your way to go. If you're watching it, it's close. I feel like it's going long, and it's like, okay, Volkov's looking live here. Maybe you attack him with something. I am liking the Aspinall side. Maybe you don't bet him crazy. I don't think he's a huge parlay addition because I think that could kill you potentially. Volkov is a difficult fight, guys. This is a very interesting matchup. You won't know for sure until the cage door closes, but film study tells me Tom Aspinall's speed advantage, he finds the chin, and he knocks out Volkov and becomes, I believe, just the third man to ever knock him out. Aspinall for the W, and I'm telling you, with the win here, this kid is on his way to superstardom here in the heavyweight division. Overall, UFC London, amazing card. I can't wait for it. I will be live for the entire thing. Starts at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. So early start time, guys. Note that. Fight Companion for the entire card. Tune in right here. 125 likes. And we got the shoey, baby. So make sure you guys tune into that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, I do want to send you guys off with a parlay. Let's see what we can come up with here late. Obviously, this week's Best MMA Bets, plugged to one of my other shows. We go deep with the parlays. But let's see what we can do here. Of course, we've also lost the Nathaniel Wood fight. That was disappointing. He's supposed to fight Vince Morales. Now, if I'm going for a parlay now, late in the week, Pavlovich is a guy I'm feeling very good about, and I also feel very good about Paddy Pimblett, and I'm feeling very good about Ilia Topuria. Now, that just brings you to -124. I know the value isn't great there, but if you're looking for something that I can call more of the sure thing, I think that's the way that you go. If you want to maybe go like, hey, I want a little more juice to the sales, you add in Mike Grundy. Solid 4-fighter play right here that I do believe comes through. Featured prelim bout with Mike Grundy. If anything did go wrong, Makwan, I mean, it's a difficult fight, but I'm feeling Mike Grundy. You could hedge it and catch yourself up later. I like this parlay right here. I know some people will probably be a bit unsure with Pavlovich. You're still looking at +110 without him. Pimblett, Topuria, Grundy. I think this is a solid play as well. Do you want to go a little nuts and add in somebody like Arnold Allen, minus 115, it brings you to plus 293, and you're like, listen, give me Pavlovich too, I'm feeling them all. You're bringing it to the plus 400 range. I think that's a pretty solid bet. Now, if you want to Hail Mary things, of course, you can add in maybe a dog. You throw down with Paul Craig, gives you plus 1268. I think that's a good stretch parlay if you're looking for a Hail Mary type of thing here. And if you want to add in something else here, depending where your book is, obviously the lines will vary, but I'm kind of thinking, right, you add in the over, even over 2.5 here for the Timur Valiev Jack Shore fight brings you to plus 623. I see that fight going long. Obviously you can take some guys out. You don't want Pavlovich on there. Let's say you're like, listen, take Grundy off my line here. Let me scroll down and take Grundy out. Let's find Grundy here and let's remove him as well. Take Grundy out. Plus 261. I think this right here is a pretty solid bet. Plus 261 is great value, guys. Don't go too nuts with the parlay. Like I say every week, 2-3 fighter max is more your safe plays. You want to go 4-5, it's a little more risk, but do things that you're feeling very good about. Personally, I am feeling very good about this 4-fighter parlay. And then if you want to stretch it by adding in some more fighters like a Pavlovich, like a Grundy, and you want to go nuts with it, you say, listen, let me take everything you got. Give me the underdog, Paul Craig. You're nearing plus 2,000 there, plus 1816. So overall, some solid bets to potentially be made. Good little parlay. That's the Hail Mary to send you off if you guys are interested in playing something a little bit more towards the wild side. UFC London's going to be great. I can't wait for it. Tune into that Fight Companion. Much love to everybody watching. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and share the video as well. Much love, my people. It's been a great week covering this UFC London card, and I can't wait to cap it off tomorrow with the live stream. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace, guys.